screams pierced the night, and the fire roared, casting eerie shadows across the yard. Mary covered her face, but Tabitha forced her to look. "Look at him, Mama," Tabitha shouted. "Look at what you've made me do." Mary's eyes filled with tears as she watched Michael born. She had never imagined her son would become so monstrous, even though she had set him on this path. "Tabitha, stop this madness," she pleaded. "This isn't you. This is exactly who I am," Tabitha replied coldly. "And it's because of you."
I see you, my heart they beats. A lady of all men's dreams. You be the one where they make me
Hey guys, this gets me thinking. If you ever wondered about the secrets people hide behind kind smiles, meet Tabitha, a man who hides behind a mask of kindness. But behind that mask lies a horrifying truth. He burns people alive and forces his mother to watch. You guys, I am as shocked as you are. Welcome to our story of deceit, horror and revenge. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more gripping tales. Who is this man with these heinous acts, and why does he behave this way? Tabitha grew up in a small village where everyone knew each other. His father, John, was a violent man, always drunk and angry. Every night, Tabitha would hear his father yelling and his mother crying. "Tabitha, go to your room," Mary would whisper as John stormed into the house. "Don't come out until morning." But even in his room, Tabitha could hear the terrible sound. One night, when Tabitha was just 10 years old, he heard his father shouting louder than ever. "You useless woman," John roared. "Can't you do anything right?" Mary cries filled the house. Tabitha covered his ears, wishing it would stop, but the abuse continued night after night. As Tabitha grew older, his mother began talking to him about the situation. She was desperate for a way out. "Tabitha," Mary said one evening, her voice trembling, "we need to do something about your father. He will kill us both one day." "What can we do, Mama?" Tabitha asked, his eyes wide with fear. "There is only one way," Mary replied, her voice barely a whisper. "We have to get rid of him." Tabitha was horrified. "But Mama, that's wrong." Mary's eyes were cold. "Do you want to live in fear forever? Tabitha, do you want him to keep hurting us?" At first, Tabitha resisted. He was just a boy who wanted to be loved and saved. But as the beating continued, his resolve weakened. One fateful night, when Tabitha was just 16 years old, his father came home in a drunken rage, hitting his mother harder than ever before. Blood streamed from her face, and something inside Tabitha snapped. "No more!" he screamed, grabbing a knife from the kitchen. John turned to face him, laughing. "What are you going to do, boy?" With all his strength, Tabitha plunged the knife into his father's chest. The house fell silent as John collapsed. Tabitha stood there, shaking, tears streaming down his face. "Mama, what have I done?" he cried. Mary's reaction was far from comforting. "You are weakling," she screamed. "You should have done more. You should have done this before now. Burn him so no one ever finds out." With trembling hands, Tabitha set his father's body on fire. The flames roared to life, and Mary watched with a twisted smile. The beating she received that night left her in a wheelchair. She blamed Tabitha for her condition, saying, "If you had killed him sooner, this wouldn't have happened." At 18, Tabitha left home, hoping to escape his past, but he fell into the hands of criminal organizations that trafficked human organs. He became adept at his new job, finding sick pleasure in his work. He made so much money from his job, and he even brought his mother along to live with him. But guess what? His mother continued to berate him, keeping him in line with his constant abuse, reminding him every day that he is the reason she is in a wheelchair and it is his responsibility to take care of her. Tabitha grew more entrenched in his dark world. He found himself becoming more ruthless. The first time he decided to burn someone alive, it was not just to kill, it was to make a statement. His mother, who had pushed him to his path, would witness the full extent of this transformation. Tabitha has chosen a young man named Michael, who had come to him seeking a better life. Michael was eager and trusting, believing in Tabitha's false promises. "Mr. Tabitha, when will we leave for the city?" Michael asked, his eyes filled with hope. "Soon, Michael, very soon," Tabitha replied with a sinister smile. "Just wait here tonight. We will handle all the arrangements." As night fell, Tabitha prepared for his grim task. He made sure the room was dark, the air thick with tension. He knew his mother was nearby, and he intended for her to see everything. Tabitha dragged Michael into a secluded area outside the house, where he had already prepared a pie. Michael struggled, his eyes wide with fear. "Please, Mr. Tabitha, what are you doing?" Michael pleaded, his voice trembling. "Stay quiet, Michael," Tabitha said coldly. "This is your fate." Tabitha tied Michael to a post and poured gasoline over him. The young man sobbed, realizing the horror that awaited him. "Why are you doing this?" Michael cried out. "I trusted you." Tabitha ignored his pleas and turned to fetch his mother. He found her in her room, trying to avoid what she knew was coming. "Come with me, Mama," Tabitha said, his voice firm. "No, Tabitha, I don't want to see this," Mary replied, her voice shaking. "You have to watch," Tabitha insisted, grabbing her wheelchair and pushing her outside. "You need to see what you've created." Mary tried to resist, but Tabitha was relentless. He positioned her where she had a clear view of Michael, who was now screaming in terror. "Tabitha, please, don't do this," Mary begged. "Let him go." "It's too late, Mama," Tabitha said, lighting a match. "This is who we are now. You made me this way. You have to see it." He threw the match onto the pie, and flames engulfed Michael almost instantly. His screams pierced the night, and the fire roared, casting eerie shadows across the yard. Mary covered her face, but Tabitha forced her to look. "Look at him, Mama," Tabitha shouted. "Look at what you've made me do." Mary's eyes filled with tears as she watched Michael burn. She had never imagined her son would become so monstrous, even though she had set him on this path. "Tabitha, stop this madness," she pleaded. "This isn't you. This is exactly who I am," Tabitha replied coldly. "And it's because of you." As the fire consumed Michael, Mary wept. The weight of her actions and the consequences of her manipulation crushed her spirit. In his village, Tabitha posed as a philanthropist, promising to send poor families abroad for a better life. He held meetings, handing out money and making grand promises. "Trust me," he would say, smiling warmly. "I will help you find a better life." But his real intention was far from being good. He harvested their organs just to make more money, paying the poor family off with a token. For 15 years, he maintained this facade, fooling everyone. Among those desperate for a better life was Vera, a young woman determined to lift her family out of poverty. Vera lived with her grandmother in a small rundown house. Her mother had left years ago with Tabitha's men and never returned. Vera dreamed of escaping their dire situation. "Grandma, I want to go to abroad and find a good job," Vera said one evening as they sat by the fire. Her grandmother shook her head. "Don't trust that man, Tabitha. Your mother never came back. We don't know what happened to her." "I have to try, Grandma," Vera replied. "We need a way out." Despite her grandmother's warning, Vera applied for the next batch to be taken abroad. She was hopeful, but when her name didn't appear on the list, she was heartbroken. Why wasn't my name chosen? Vera asked Tabitha's assistant, a stern woman named Grace. Your papers weren't in order, Grace replied curtly. Vera felt a pang of disappointment but refused to give up. She watched as others prepared to leave, determined to find a way. That night, Vera sneaked into the village hall where the approvals were kept. She found a list of names and noticed one she recognized. I know her, Vera thought. She won't miss this paper. Vera took the approval and with a mix of fear and excitement, joined the group boarding the bus the next morning. You are not supposed to be here, a man said as Vera took a seat. I got my approval late, Vera replied, hoping her voice didn't betray her nervousness. The man eyed her suspiciously but said nothing more. The bus ride was long and tense, filled with chatter about the new lives everyone hoped to start. I can't wait to see the city, one girl said, her eyes shining with excitement. Do you think we'll really get good jobs? Another asked. Vera remained silent, clutching her stolen approval tightly. She hoped this risk would be worth it. At first, everything seemed fine. They arrived at a large secluded house where they were told they would stay for a week or two before their journey abroad. The atmosphere was tense but hopeful. Everyone believed in Tabitha's promises. Just a little longer, Tabitha would say during his visit, your papers are being processed. But as the days turned into weeks, Vera grew suspicious. She noticed strange behavior and began sneaking around, trying to uncover the truth. She often saw guards patrolling the grounds, their faces stern and unwelcoming. One evening, Vera saw a woman being led away by two guards. She followed them quietly and saw them enter a locked room. Curiosity nagged at her and she waited until they left before trying the door. It was locked tightly. The next day, Vera saw one of the men who handled the food deliveries fumbling with a set of keys. When he wasn't looking, she managed to snatch one. I hope this works, she whispered to herself. That night, as she approached the locked room with trembling hands, Vera inserted the key and turned it. The door creaked open, revealing a room filled with coolers. She opened one and gasped. Inside were human organs, labeled and neatly packed. Horror washed over her as she realized the grim fate that awaited them. Determined to survive, Vera stopped eating the drug food they were given. She faked illness to avoid suspicions, pretending to be weak and sick, her heart pounding with fear every time she saw a guard approaching. We have to leave, she whispered to the others one night, but fear paralyzed them. We can't, one girl said, her eyes wide with terror. They will kill us. If we stay, they will kill us too, Vera insisted. We have to try. In the dead of the night, she made her move. She had memorized the guards' routes and knew when they would be changing shifts. Dodging guards and narrowly escaping capture, Vera managed to flee the compound. Her journey was fraught with danger. At one point, she hid in a dish as guards searched the area with flashlights. Where did she go? One guard shouted. She can't be far, another replied. Holding her breath, Vera waited until they passed. Her will to live kept her going, and after several days of hiding and running, she reached a nearby town. Exhausted and weak, she collapsed at the entrance of a small clinic. The clinic staff took Vera in, treating her injuries and giving her food. When she awoke, she was surrounded by concerned faces. Who did this to you? A nurse asked gently. Vera hesitated, fear gripping her heart, but she knew she had to tell the truth. A man named Tabitha, she said. He kills people. takes their organs and makes money out of it. The nurse's eyes widened in shock. We need to tell the authorities. No, Vera pleaded. He has people everywhere. He will find me. The staff assured her she was safe, but Vera knew better. She had to stay vigilant. Tabitha sent someone to finish the job, but Vera fought back, defeating her would-be assassin. She took his phone and sent a message, making it look like she was dead. We got her, the message read. Believing he was safe, Tabitha continued his first aid, but Vera had other plans. Vera knew she couldn't fight Tabitha alone. She gathered evidence and recruited young people from the village who had also lost loved ones to Tabitha's schemes. She showed them photos of the organs she had found and shared her story. We have to stop him, Vera urged. We can't let him hurt anyone. The group agreed, and together they formed a plan. On the day Tabitha was handing out money, Vera and her group stormed in. Your time is up, Tabitha, she shouted. As authorities followed her to his house, Tabitha's face went pale. What is this, he stammered. We know the truth, Vera said, her voice steady. You are a monster and you will pay for what you've done. The authorities searched Tabitha's house and found the evidence they needed. Coolers filled with organs, documents detailing his crimes, and testimony from survivors. Tabitha tried to run, but it was too late. The authorities caught him and brought him to justice. Tabitha's mother, filled with regret and bitterness, met a painful end. She realized too late the monster she had created. I only wanted to protect us, she murmured in her final days. I didn't know it would come to this. Tabitha himself faced the consequences of his monstrous action. The courtroom was packed. People from Tabitha's village, reporters and curious onlookers filled every seat, all eager to see the end of his reign of terror. The air was tense with anticipation. Tabitha sat in the defendant's chair, his usual confident demeanor now replaced with desperation. Beside him sat his mother, Mary, looking frail and defeated. The judge called the court to order. Tabitha, you stand accused of multiple counts of murder, organ trafficking, and fraud. How do you plead? The judge asked sternly. Guilty, Tabitha murmured, his voice barely audible. The prosecutor presented a mountain of evidence, testimonies from survivors, photos of the harvested organs, and detailed records of his criminal activities. Vera's testimony was particularly damning. He promised us a better life, Vera said, her voice steady, but instead he turned us into victims. She described the horrors she witnessed, the people who disappeared, and the room filled with coolers of human organs. The jury listened intently, the gravity of Tabitha's crime sinking in with every word. During a recess, Tabitha whispered urgently to his lawyer, who then approached the prosecutor. My client is willing to make a significant donation to your campaign, the lawyer said, his voice low. If you consider reducing the charges. The prosecutor's eyes narrowed. You think you can buy your way out of this, Tabitha? This is not a negotiation. Desperation crept into Tabitha's eyes. Please, he begged. I can pay you anything. Just help me. But the prosecutor stood firm. Justice cannot be bought, Tabitha. You will face the consequences of your actions. Tabitha's face fell as he realized his last-ditch effort to escape justice had failed. When the court reconvened, the judge delivered his verdict. Tabitha, your crimes are heinous and unforgivable. You exploited and murdered innocent people for your gain. You showed no remorse for your actions. Therefore, I sentence you to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The judge then turned to Mary. Mary, you are found guilty of conspiring in the murder of your husband, John. Your manipulation led to a cycle of violence and destruction. You are sentenced to 25 years in prison. Mary broke down in tears. I never wanted this, she sobbed. I just wanted to be free of him. You have to live with the consequences of your choices, the judge replied sternly. The law will not show you mercy. As Tabitha was led away in handcuffs, he caught Vera's eye. She stood tall, surrounded by the people she had saved. You will pay for this, he hissed, his voice filled with venom. Vera remained unfazed. No, Tabitha, she replied calmly. Justice has been served. The villagers watched as the man, who had once been a pillar of their community, was taken away. His true nature finally revealed. Vera hugged her grandmother tightly, tears of relief streaming down her eyes. We did it, Grandma. It's over. Her grandmother smiled, her eyes filled with pride. You were brave, Vera. You saved us all. Tabitha's story. The man who burned people alive and made his mother watch ended behind the bars. His once powerful facade shattered. His mother, too, faced the consequences of her actions. The village began to heal, knowing the monster who had tormented them were finally gone. The people of the village gathered around Vera, thanking her for her courage and determination. She had not only survived, but had brought justice to those who had suffered. Vera smiled, feeling a sense of peace. For the first time in years, she had faced unimaginable horrors and emerged victoriously. Now, she could finally begin to rebuild her life and help others do the same. Now, to you, my beautiful viewers, what do you think drove Tabitha to commit such horrific acts? Was it his own nature or the influence and manipulation of his mother? And do you believe his mother is equally responsible for his actions? Let us know your thoughts in the comment sections below. And don't forget to share this story with your family and your friends who might need it. Till I see you again in my next story. Goodbye.